Yesterday I watched it on YouTube. Now I know it's a fact.
G'day everyone, let's see if we can knock this over. I thought we'd do some site comparisons, see where it took us, huh? I haven't actually run through this a great deal, so we're going to be playing this by ear, or by eye. Anyone feeling particularly funky at the moment? There we go. Anyway, we've got to get rid of the funky one off the screen, don't we, to do this job? So let's bring him down. We'll shut him down. There we go. I have pre-prepared this is DVCQNNECT. It's a Queensland, puts itself forward as a Queensland domestic violence helpline. So I thought we'd take a look at its links for, well, Women's Line and Men's Line, obviously. So let's see what the comparisons are, shall we? Well, for a start, what do we got? Women's Line is 24 hours, 7 days a week. Is a good start. We found an immediate problem with the way that domestic violence for men is dealt with as opposed to women, because apparently it only happens to men from 9 AM to midnight. To women, it happens 24 hours, and they can get help 24 hours a day. So it sucks to be you men right off the bat. Moving down. What is Women's Line? DVConnect's Women's Line is Queensland's only 24-hour, 7-day-a-week. Yeah, we got that. It's discriminatory right from the hours it operates. Crisis response telephone helpline. It's a service for Queenslanders who want to escape domestic and family violence. The number one goal of Women's Line is to respond to immediate safety needs. Women's Line offers free specialist counselling, crisis counselling, as well as information, referrals and support for people living with domestic violence and family violence. Each day our counsellors support Queenslanders who fear violent partners, ex-partners or family members. They need a safe place for themselves and their children, and in a lot of cases, their pets. So the women can get help for themselves, their children, and their pets. Okay, fair enough. Then there's this whole domestic violence if you haven't been hurt. Right, okay, with some. Let's go to what is Men's Line. DVConnect Men's Line is a free confidential phone counselling referral service for men living in Queensland. This service is available only 9 AM till midnight, 7 days a week. Sucks to be the blokes. Not that there's any discrimination in the services. In the last financial year, DVConnect Men's Line received almost 1,500 phone calls and referrals. There's no number mentioned in the Women's Line. Does that mean it received less or something and wasn't worth a note? Or are they trying to say that there's an issue for men and an issue that only runs from 9 AM till midnight? Anyway, DVConnect's Men's Line offers counselling referral for support for men who are using violence in their relationships. Welcome, victims. This is how we start portraying you. This is number one on the list for Men's Line, a domestic violence helpline for men. Number one, men using violence in their relationships. Men who are experiencing domestic violence in family violence. Oh, it's nice that comes in second, isn't it? Beautiful. Exactly the support victims need. Others seeking support for men using or experiencing domestic. So again, number 3 brings it down to, men are part of the problem, and this is a line that can help others who need support. Does this mean women can call Men's Line as well? Does it? They've got a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service, but they can call Men's Line because they can. Okay. Anyway, yeah, you can see 2 out of 3 go to men being the abusers. Okay, we'll let that ride. We're okay with that, aren't we? A victim service puts men up as the perpetrators 2 out of 3 times. Men using domestic violence in their relationships. Hey, nice kick-off for the violated there. Immediately we go to men using violence. You will note there is no such mention of women using violence on Women's Line. Men's Line Queensland, many men who use domestic violence. I'm not even going to read this shit because I don't believe this is needed in a victim service. I think this is victim blaming, and they wouldn't dream of doing it to a woman. Men experiencing domestic violence with their relationships. Well, finally we get to the victims. Domestic violence happens to all genders, male against female, males against males, as well as females against males. Well, it's nice that they started with males against females, just to be sure we know that we're the perpetrators. But yes, they do finally at the end get to females against males. We all know males against males. That's not a big surprise to anyone. But again, no mention of any of this in the Women's Line. While lesbian relationships are the most violent relationship statistically, you do not see any mention of woman-on-woman violence. Where are we? Domestic violence and abuse with intimate relationships can happen to anyone, regardless of their gender. It is control and power based. This is the feminist idea of what it is. This is not actually factually true. This has been proven to be nonsense. The Duluth model on which this is based didn't actually prove this point. The research the Duluth model people did proved this was untrue. But here it is, control and power based, right up the front. For example, a man could experience this from his girlfriend or boyfriend or wife or his husband. But yes, this is about control and power apparently, no questions asked. No one person experiences the same or is the same or typical. There is no typical experience within this situation. Domestic violence isn't within intimate relationships can change over time. Rarely do relations start with abuse and violence. It is commonly something that happens with time. None of this information, none of this is in the Woman's Line. It goes to, is it domestic violence if you haven't been hurt? These are the links. What's a safe house or refuge? How can I care for my children in domestic violence? Can DVConnect, right? It's got absolute fucking nonsense links when you compare it to the amount of information they think they have to pour into the Men's Line. Men's Line court support. Men's Line court workers interview and engage with people they appear. I'm actually surprised at this because in some places they actually say they can't offer these things. But anyway, workers will challenge alleged abusive behaviours robustly. Without collusion with men, workers will challenge alleged abusive behaviour robustly but non-judgmentally. Well, this is a new thing for me. I've never actually heard this said. I would actually like to know if any guys out there have experienced this non-judgmental thing from the support people behind Men's Line. which I don't think actually exists. So I'm not sure where this goes. Mensline unequivocally supports behaviour change programs, and this is where it's all down to. This is the feminist idea that men behave badly, masculinity is evil, and we can change men from being evil by putting them through these programs. And I've heard of victims being put through these behaviour changing programs as if they were perpetrators. So I wouldn't call any service that put this as an upfront issue. With approved providers, I would note that approved providers are also all feminist, female-run organisations that have no concern or care for the welfare of men. For those men who are taking responsibility for their use of violence or abuse, demonstrating it, again, none of this is in the women's page. Not a word of the possibility that women can abuse or require behaviour changing programs. Absolutely not mentioned anywhere. That's all we get with Mensline. We get some more chat about this Mensline court support, which I've never heard of, and like I said, I think this will be contradicted later. But where do you see any of this information here? You don't. Womensline has no such information, offers no such behaviour changing programs, never talks about women being the violators or perpetrating violence. So let's go back to the top, shall we? This is not being very friendly. Womensline. Oh, here we go. The split screen thing, I haven't used it before now, so we're giving this a go. What is domestic violence according to Womensline? And we'll do the same on Mensline. What is domestic violence? So, according to... God, did I get two different pages? Hang on. What's going on here? This doesn't look like what that's better. I knew these were two different pages. What is domestic violence according to the Womensline? What is domestic violence? Domestic violence is often thought of as being mainly about physical abuse of a woman by her male partner. I wonder who gave everyone that idea. However, domestic violence can be any behaviour used to exert power and control. The unproven, in fact, categorically incorrect Duluth model assumption of the feminist mantra over a person through fear. No, just no. You've got to prove that there's an element of fear when somebody hits somebody because an argument's gone on and there's been some heat in it. I don't think it's terrorism we're talking about. I think this is something else, and it could be terrorism. I admit women can be bitches. Anyway, types of domestic violence and behaviour include financial abuse and stalking, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, spiritual or cultural abuse, damage to personal property, technological abuse, also known as digital abuse, social abuse, or psychological emotional abuse. Domestic and family violence takes place in the context of an intimate partner relationship against the previously intimate partner, against an intimate, there's like, look at that. We should read those. Against a previous intimate partner within a family relationship or in an informal care relationship. It is not exclusive to heterosexual relationships. Well, that's nice. That's as near as we get to hearing about the lesbians, maybe. Domestic violence can occur in same-sex couples and other intimate relationships. And you'll get a link to the LGBTQ community because the lesos are violent. Excuse me. Wow. I have had the lurgy for the last week. It's going through the whole family. We're all down a bit. So let's see what we then get the definitions of the different forms of abuse for anyone who's too stupid to work it out. After that, you've got nothing. That's it for the women's one. Let's look at the men's one, shall we? What is domestic and family violence? Domestic violence is often thought to be mainly control over... Yeah, right. So the first line is the same as the women's service, but it goes on to say domestic and family violence takes place in the context of... yeah, righto. So it's added bits of other paragraphs to the first one. Types of domestic and family violence behaviour include financial, and that's a paragraph straight out of the women's. And that's all we get for the men. We don't get to hear about LBGT or anything, and that's probably because, compared to the lesbians, gay men are not violent. So anyway, interesting differences in the websites there. We then get the rundown of... Hang on, I saw stalking. Stalking's in the women's one too. Oh, I'm surprised they recognise that stalking is something that women can do. Although there's a woman in the picture, I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe we'll find time to look at all of these things. I just want to do a quick over of the website. So let's go to Women's Line. How can we help you? Come on, Women's Line. Tell us how you can help us. Right, we'll see if we can get Men's Line to tell us the same. Men's Line, help for you. Okay, different heading, but essentially the same thing. Okay, help for you. What can we do? We can provide free phone crisis counselling and support 24/7. We can arrange for free interpreter services. We can assist with developing a safety plan. We can provide emergency transport. We can provide advice and referral to crisis accommodation. We cannot provide legal advice. We cannot support you financially. We cannot provide you with ongoing face-to-face therapeutic counselling. We cannot assist with the removal and storage of property. Let's have a look what the Men's Line says. We can provide free telephone crisis counselling. 9 till midnight. Yes, we got the idea. You discriminate against the men. We can provide information about support services. There are none. I've mentioned this in another video. Jeremiah House in Bundaberg, I think it's based, is a private sector house, and as far as I know receives no government money, and that's the only one in Australia. So yeah, what they're talking about here is they'll get you a behaviour changing program, because that's the only thing offered to men over most of the country. You will also notice back a couple of pages that when they talked about women, they talked about children and pets, but men don't have children and pets, so that's okay. We don't need that support, apparently. We can provide information about court processes and refer you to men's behaviour change programs. Thank you. A victim service, you're doing well. We can inform you about the impact of domestic and family violence on family unit. We can make active plans around health strategies, and employ and strategies to employ as an alternate to choosing to use violence. So again, we've gone to the men use violence thing. Again, there is no sign over here that women use violence. None at all. Yet twice we've managed to mention it about men. We can arrange a free interpreter service. That's nice. We can assist with developing a safety plan for you. Yeah. Okay. And again, I mentioned this on the last page. We cannot provide you with legal advice. So what was that whole last paragraph in that last page about legal assistance? Because apparently you can't offer it. I don't know where you got this idea that you could in the last page. I've got a feeling what you're talking about is men seeking behaviour changing, because you are willing to put people in these programs, no problems at all. Alright, we've looked at help for you. Let's see what else is on Womensline, shall we? How you can help others. Let's see if we've got similar on the men's line, shall we? Men's line. Help for others. Again, there's a very distinct difference in the way they put that in the menu. Okay, how you can help others. In a respectful partnership, arguments and disagreements will occur, but both partners feel free to state their opinions. In an abusive relationship, one partner controls the other through physical harm, criticism, demands, threats, and sexual pressure. This is bullshit. As I've noted in previous videos, and as I have noted many times elsewhere, and many other people have, most domestic violence is reciprocal. That means both partners are involved. This is not true. This stands outside the reality of the situation. The following are some of the signs that might alert you to that someone you know might be affected by domestic violence. You notice changes in their behaviours or the behaviour of their children. They appear frightened or anxious. They seem afraid or nervous around their partner or need to constantly keep the peace. Shit, I could be abused. I'm always keeping the peace with the wife. They may have unlikely injuries or bruises, or often not well or having silly accidents. They may miss work or cancel arrangements on short notice. Their partners control all aspects of their lives. Their partners may also be overly possessive or jealous. Again, this is a problem I've had with women. Seriously jealous problems with women. Their children seem fearful or on the edge in their abuser's company or at the mention of their name. We finish that page at that point. There's really nothing to add there, but let's have a look what it says about the men who might be seeking help for others. Are you concerned about a friend or family member in a respectful relationship, argument, disagreement? Right, get rid of the... hang on. Oh, no, don't know. That's all right. It feels safe to say no to sex. Yeah, that's in the women's one as well. In an abusive relationship, one partner control, that again stands outside reality. Typical of feminism, cultism tends to have its doctrines based in the fictional, the mythical, if you will. It can be hard to know what to do best. That's it. It can be hard to know. There is none of this looking for the signs, because apparently if you're looking for a man, these signs are not going to be evident. So don't worry about it. It just doesn't happen. That men can, feel uncomfortable or look henpecked. That's the word for it, isn't it? Men never looked henpecked. Throughout history, jokes about henpecking were just there because men, needed to claim victim status as well through humour. There can't be any possibility of reality behind that. So, women's line. Let's see what else is in the menu, shall we? About women's shelters. Let's see what that's got for us, shall we? Let's see. Men's line. Men's shelters. No. Apparently we can't rely on them for men's shelters. That doesn't happen. So I'm going to ignore men's line, because stuff them, they're useless. They can't even provide shelters for men. Women's shelters. Women's shelters, sometimes called safe houses or refuges, provide safe and secure accommodation, specialist support for women and children escaping domestic and family violence. It should be noted that some of these places stop boys from entering over the age of 12 and some over the age of 15. Almost none take boys over the age of 15. or none that I know of, I should say, because I didn't find any that do when I was doing my research into shelters, which is ongoing. Anyone wants to get involved in some research work that's way out, that I may never get done at this point. It's getting harder and harder all the time. What I need is a place to publish as well. In order to maintain security and safety, the location and details of women's shelters are confidential and not available to the public. I don't care. Please enter a title attribute. I think that might be a broken link there. Okay. How long can I stay at a women's shelter? Do I arrange safe accommodation? What can I take with me? Oh, let's have a look. What can you take with you? They can't take large amounts of furniture or personal effects, necessities, jewelry, sentimental value, children's toys and toiletries. Yeah, okay. Nothing more than you'd take to a hotel. Can I get legal advice when I call? What? No. So anyway, we know that this doesn't exist at all in the men's line. Let's ignore men's line. Useless buggers can't even get themselves sorted out to have a men's shelter to talk about. Even though, as I have noted, there is one, they couldn't find room to mention it. What can you expect from us? And just watching the women's line come in on that one, and we'll go to men's line. What can you expect from us? We've got that link. Woohoo! Okay, the discrimination of hours, and we've already pretty much been through that, haven't we? Okay. Let's see if there are any differences. Yes. Women and children. DV connects a place for women, children, and men who experience domestic violence or family violence as our central priority. This is supposed to be, I'm guessing, a victims service, because it doesn't mention women as perpetrators. It doesn't mention children as perpetrators. Yet it manages in the men's line to continually mention men as perpetrators. But in any case, yeah, apparently if you are experiencing domestic violence, this is a service for you. When can you expect, what can you expect when you call? Jeez, read, you bugger. When we will answer your phone call as promptly as possible and treat you with respect. We'll respond to your needs in a professional, flexible and empowering manner. Your safety and the safety of other family members is our first priority, and we will support you with your safety decision. We will treat your personal and confidential information responsibly. We may be required to... Is that like the ABC releasing that victim details the other day? I thought that was good. We may be required to release your information without your consent within the Information Privacy Act guidelines. We always specify this during phone conversation. We will arrange an interpreter if you need one. If you are hearing impaired, you can link through a National Relay Service. That's a national, deaf person service. You talk to them and they put it into text. If you lodge a complaint, we're a robust quality, righto. So, what can they do for men? 3 ticks. Women got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ticks. Men get 3. What can we do for you? We can provide you with information and, if required, telephone counselling about domestic violence. I'm guessing that means if you did it, but only from 9 till midnight. We can provide you with referrals to other appropriate services which may be able to assist you further. Well, yeah, only if you are going to accept that you are the perpetrator and you want to change your behaviour. What we can't do... Now, there was no can'ts in the women's one. No, all the way through there are no can'ts. They actually go into their privacy policy, but there are no can'ts. What we can't do, we can't support you financially, provide you with legal advice, advocate for you or represent you in court. Again, counter to page 2, which says that they do provide this. We cannot schedule ongoing counselling or telephone appointments with one particular counsellor. But this is not something that they wouldn't do for the women. There's also no mention of privacy for men. None at all. There's no empowering. There's no worrying about the safety of family members. There's just not even a mention of an interpreter in this. Hearing impaired, you're deaf as a post, fuck you. That's how that works for the men. Is there any mention of privacy as in this for the women's, the Information Privacy Act 2009? No, it just doesn't exist. So, fuck you guys. If you call, they will blurt your shit everywhere. Okay, Women's Line. Pets in Crisis. Pets in Crisis. Here it comes. And Men's Line. No pets in crisis. No, nothing. No pets. Men don't have pets. Fuck you. Okay. Here's a couple of lesbians, a couple of dykes being violent to their pet. So yes, we can accept this page after all. Pets in Crisis program. The Pets in Crisis program provides safe accommodation, food and vet care to pets. I thought the RSPCA did this shit. Yeah, anyway. The fact, Pets in Crisis program is care for pets, family escaping domestic violence, not men apparently. Established in 2005 with the RSPCA. Yes, that's right. So, do the RSPCA also run a sexist organisation that doesn't provide for men? RSPCA, are you out there? Can you tell me? Are you also sexist? Do you not provide this service for men and their little puppy doggies? Okay. The program cares for almost 300 pets a year, but due to lack of funds, accommodation, pets can stay in the program 28 days. Any pet is accepted from. Oh, I got a goose, and he abuses me all the time. The bugger bites me every time I go near him, but then I do scratch him under the chin and stuff. So, you know. Okay, yeah. So it's all about the RSPCA. That one. Oh, look. 150,000 quid a year for women's pets, and you can donate. Here's the amounts you can donate and all that shit. So another way to scrounge money out of you. The RSPCA do like their money. Goes on. Become an RSPCA foster carer. Shit, it just goes on and on. So the RSPCA really promote this service through the Women's Helpline. Shall we go back to the menu? See what else is in this one. Workplace training. Okay, workplace training. Men's Line. No workplace training. We'll check this. Women's Line. Oh, I've ended up skipping the wrong place. Typical. Let's have a look at other services. This is the last in both categories. So we've done over the men often enough that we can go to other at last. Okay, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Legal Service. I could go into why I wouldn't recommend them for men, but I won't. That's something that is another thing. Alcohol and drug services. Beyond Blue, depression and anxiety. Beyond Blue started as a men's mental health service. If you go to their website these days, it starts with women, children, old people, everything, and men are at the bottom. Feminists took it over and have run it into the ground. If you are depressed and male, Beyond Blue might not be the place for you anymore. Better try the pub. So you can find someone down there to have a natter with. Centre Care. Look, Centre care services across Australia vary, but on the whole, even the centre care service here admits there are no services for men, even though the woman who was running it a few years back was sympathetic to men in domestic violence situations. She couldn't offer anything. It's hundreds of kilometres to the nearest service for men from here, and then she didn't know whether those services actually offered anything worth having. But if you go through the many centre care websites for all the different regions, you will quite often find them extremely feminist, extremely anti-male. I'll say the same about Anglicare, but Anglicare seems to be far more feminist and far less friendly to men. Okay, the Queensland government. I wouldn't spit on the Queensland government as far as men go. Child support agency. I think they're there just to rip off men, aren't they? Crisis Care Department of Communities After Hours Child Protection Service. Yeah, that's not going to help. Disability Information Service. Again, we can expect to have that be run by feminists. Drug Harm Australasia. Yep. There's one set of services you know you'll get for men in this country, and that is drug and alcohol services, abuse services. Said services probably deal with women as well, but when you go through the domestic violence services like 1-800 and you look at their help services, you will find the only shelters and only things available to men are drug and alcohol, and children can't go to those places. And fuck your pet, they can't go. Family relationship advice line. Nope. A feminist. Gambling helpline. Yeah, probably. Gay and lesbian counselling community service. I don't know how they get special money. Are they not men and women? I mean, their relationships vary, sure, but aren't they just at heart men and women? Yeah, I don't know. Homeless Persons Information Queensland. Yeah, the homeless people are all over the computer and the telephones. Don't worry. Actually, I can say that I've seen plenty of homeless people in the cities with a smartphone in hand, so maybe they have got that service. Interpreting service. Yeah, that's pretty nothing. Kids Helpline. Look, I'm not a fan of Kids Helpline. I understand why it exists. I understand that it possibly serves a purpose, but again, it's one of those corrupted services. It just seems to be, I don't know, wrong in some way. Do what you can with that. Lesbian and Gay Welfare Association. Yeah, where's the straight one? Just ask him, because, you know, it's the equality age. Living Well Sexual Assault Counselling for Men. Well, I'll have to look up that one because I don't know Living Well, so I'm going to open that in a new tab. We'll keep it in the background there. Lifeline. Lifeline are well known for driving people to suicide. I guess some people must be helped by them, but a lot of people I've spoken to about their experiences, men that I've spoken to about their experiences with Lifeline, it's just not worth the effort. Again, maybe you're better off at the pub. I know when I've had problems, the pub served me, and I'd only sat at my own having the bar at my own having a beer, you know, and that was enough to get me out of a situation and let me mellow out a bit. Legal aid. Yeah, look, legal aid. Fucking hell. What can I say about legal aid? Legal aid partners with a lot of the women's legal services, and if she gets there first, you've got no fucking hope. You won't get it. They won't serve both sides. Good luck. Get in first. That's all I've got to say. Men's Info and Support Association. Well, I haven't heard of them either. I'm sure that they're great. We'll open that link in the background. Take a look at it later. Mercy Community. Look, I don't trust any of the religious groups. They've just put that out there. Mensline Australia, we've just covered them, aren't they? Excellent. By the way, their website was going to be covered in this video. It's changed a bit since I first looked at it. They now seem more supportive, but they do also jump to the men did it a bit. Maybe I'll cover them another day. Parent line, Department of Communities, Queensland Police, domestic violence information. Don't expect help from them fellas. You're more likely to get arrested, is the standing order, I believe. Queensland Domestic Violence Services Network, CANS. Now, the CANS QDVSN is 150 to 200% feminist. Absolutely fucking rabid, harpy feminists. I wouldn't go near them. I wouldn't let my missus near them. I just avoid them like the plague. If you want cancer, that's the people for you. Relationships Australia. Now, they sacked a counsellor in Western Australia because he dared to discuss the idea that men have issues. So, Relationships Australia, if you're game, really, if you're game. DVConnect. Righto, we've looked at them. That's what we're looking at the moment. We wouldn't go there in a hurry either, would we, fellas? Victims of Crime Queensland. If it's anything like the New South Wales service, don't expect much, fellas. Youth and Family Services, Logan City. Yeah, I don't know who runs the youth one in Logan, but Logan has another feminist service. Anyway, they finally hit a point where they're showing exactly the same for both parties. Interesting, that. Now, I'm going to go back to the top here and have a quick look at the menu here. Queensland Sexual Assault Helpline. I'm not going to look there at this point. We're running this video long. 1-800-RESPECT. Do not fucking call these people. Seriously, a year ago when I started, is it a year, maybe more, I started my research on these people into domestic violence services. I used their services list. These were the go-to people funded by our federal government. And in the time that I've been doing my research, they have gotten more feminist than they already were. And they were fucking already dangerously close to the edge. I mean, there are no services for men anyway, but 1-800 is no longer respectful. And I have actually signed up as a professional for their emails. And I can tell you now, the only emails I seem to get for them, for professionals, is, domestic violence, men versus women, men beating up their women's. Don't go near 1-800-RESPECT if you've got respect for yourself. Donate or fundings, news, pets in crisis. We've done them. Came under Womensline. Fellas, you're fucked. Your dog is just going to have to live with the bitch. The bitch is going to have to live with the bitch? I don't know. I don't keep dogs. What do I know? Workplace training. We know it doesn't exist for men. Partners. Oh, they're partners. I see. RSPCA Queensland Rail. Ooh. Bellas. I'm going to look up Bellas quick before we go. Bellas Central. Yeah, we've hit on domestic abuse of services for women. For women. Yeah. $1.6 million. Residents on Gold Coast. Alright. Residence has 5 units. Yeah. And the residence is not a refuge. It is for women and children after they escape a domestic violence situation. To the guys. So, yep. Anyway, that's QVConnect. That is the Queensland government's domestic violence service. We'll show you the main page. Here we go. Look at this. We'll finish on the big note. There you go. Oh, yeah. Yep. Righto. I don't have much more to add to this. I think we've worked it out. There is a definite difference in the way that these state and federal services deal with men. I mean, they don't even offer them the same times of the day to call. So, to DVConnect and all the other services, go fuck yourselves. And I'm going to pull the plug on this one because I find this time and time again. I've been doing, like I said, I've been doing research in domestic violence services. I started with the 1-800 Respect services list. They have a list of people they recommend or are partnered to them or whatever. And I started working with that, and all I found was services for women. Thrown in to that was a half a dozen homeless shelters and drug and alcohol shelters that dealt with men. Riddled, of course, with behaviour changing programs, of which I only found one for women based in an Aboriginal community in the Northern Territory. At this point, my research is ongoing. I'm a bit worried about not having a place to put it at the moment. It was meant to be put on a men's rights website, but that seems to have slowed down and turned into a men's rights wiki, and I'm not sure how I go posting what I've done to that. So anyway, I will keep on doing my research and hope for a place to put it. And in the meanwhile, you've got a taste of what it is to be male and abused in an uncaring world. I've been the Anti-Theocrat. May your gods remain fictional, and I'll see you in the next one.